Here's something to think about. Do you need hustle school? What that means is, do you need to understand better what hustle is about? I see a lot on the internet and all over the place. People talk, well, you got to hustle. You got to really hustle. You got to really work. You got to stay up and do all kinds of things and, really work at it. And that is true. You obviously have to give it your all and put in the time and do everything that's required. But I found that a lot of people just don't know how to hustle. They don't know what's involved. And I have to admit, growing up, it wasn't something I fully understood either. What is hustle? What does that mean? Does it mean move quickly while you're doing things? Does it mean pack a lot of things in the day? Does it mean push the levers? Push things that seem like they're not going to happen? Well, hustle is a combination of all of those things. And for a lot of people, they just don't understand what hustle is because, frankly, we've got life so well. We live in such a prosperous society that the idea of hustling and using every moment and every resource and every idea and pursuing it and following up and all that just is foreign to a lot of people because they don't have to. And they don't have to for their very survival. They just don't have to, so they don't realize it. Now, this is something that I began to understand really well as an entrepreneur. Because as an entrepreneur, you're dealing with circumstances and moments that are crucial. So you have, something you've got to accomplish in a given week. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough resources. You don't have the people. You've got deadlines. You've got pressures. And you've got to figure out a way to get to the next step. And then you really do understand hustle because you realize, oh my goodness, if I don't figure out something by Friday, I'm in trouble. I'm really not going to be able to pull this off. And sometimes these are hard deadlines. These are situations where it's pretty serious. And so you learn what hustle is about. You call someone and you ask them to do a favor, for example, and then after an hour or two, you don't hear back from them, and you realize, you may not even wait an hour or two. Your reality might be, okay, if they can't respond right that moment, you're calling back in a few minutes later to say, okay, what happened? Anything happen? And so this is what hustle is about. Hustle is about shortening the time that you work on something. It's knocking on every door. It's pursuing every track, every idea. It's not deferring a decision or a idea or a circumstance until later. It's deciding that, now is the time. Hey, why don't we decide right now? It's deciding that, this is something that you are going to figure out right now. It's deciding that you're going to propose something, and the minute you propose something, you're going to invoice the customer, and the minute you invoice the customer, you're going to collect the money. That's what entrepreneurship is about, and that kind of hustle is the kind of hustle that you learn as an entrepreneur. You learn that, okay, I got to get this done now, and so there's no time like the present. A lot of people just don't know how to do it. They just don't know. And what I would try to do in growing my companies is figure out where it was that we were not really hustling, and figuring out how do we just improve that process. Do we knock on every door in the building where our offices are and introduce ourselves and let them know that this is what we're doing? Do we go to every event that we can go to? Do we hand out things on the street? I mean, we would do all of that. We would build our database in Bryant Park in New York. We'd go out, we'd do surveys, we'd get email addresses, we'd build our database there. We'd go to events later that day, we'd build our database there. We would call everyone we know and ask them for people contact names in their database. We would hit several places in a day where we thought we could sell a product or service. We would just do everything we can to speed the process up. And that's what hustle is. Hustle is figuring out, how do you shorten the cycle? How do you ask for more? How do you push the edges, push the envelope, so that you can get more done, you can ask for more. And look, part of it is you feel uncomfortable doing these things because you think, well, how does this make me look, doing this? But the reality is, particularly in entrepreneurship, you realize that this is something you've got to do. Now, if you can transfer that mindset into intrapreneurship, if you work inside a company, learn how to do that. Because companies, a lot of these companies are like a big yawn. I hate to insult, those of you who work in large companies or lead large companies, but many of you need to learn how to hustle. You need to learn how to do things faster, bigger, make decisions quicker, and not dilly-dally around these ideas. And when you have to pay the rent, when you have to pay people, when you have to keep the lights on, keep the phone on, do those things that are required to keep the business going, you begin to understand the reality of what hustle means, and you begin to look at things through a different lens. So wherever you are, whatever the situation is, whether you are working for someone, whether you're running your own business, whether you're a freelancer, a soloist, whatever it is you do, you've got to learn that hustle is about getting it done now. It's about making it happen now. It's about removing the barriers between the goal and where you are. And sometimes that simply means just being louder, being faster, being bigger, being scrappier, doing things that are uncomfortable, doing things that seem like they are pushy, but you got to get it done. You've got to get it done, and you won't get there if you're concerned too much about the way you look in a situation. There are I see entrepreneurs who are mega rich and do all kinds of things, but when it comes to getting something done and pulling it off and getting that deal signed and getting that contract in and getting that payment in, that brings out that hustle in them, that desire to pull that off. And that's one of the wonderful things that you see in scrappy companies that are trying to grow. So think about how you can demonstrate more hustle. How can you get it done? How can you get up earlier, stay up later, do those things that are required to push yourself to a new level of accomplishment? An entrepreneur said to me the other day, I got a kick out of it. He said, listen, I tell my clients that they got to get on my calendar and they've got a narrow window to meet with me. They've got until 9 a.m. in the morning until 5 a.m. the next morning to meet with me. So what he was essentially saying is he's on a 24-hour clock, he sleeps 4 hours, and he's back at it. Take that attitude with you in what you do, and just keep accomplishing things. Turn off the TV, turn off the radio, put that whatever it is you're doing aside and focus on accomplishing what you need to accomplish. You'll get more done. You'll learn how to hustle. You'll learn how to get results. And those things that seem like they were far away, things that you couldn't accomplish, you're going to start to see them come in view because you're aimed at them. You're focused on them and you're committed to making them happen. Get your hustle. Get your hustle and make those things happen. If you like this tip, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know. Share it with someone who really needs to hear this. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and I will see you next time.